located at the heart of Jimeta community in Yola North local government area, was attacked earlier today. Residents say that the sounds of gunshot rent the air for at least 30 minutes. Police Public Relations Officer in the state, SP Suleiman Yahaya Nguroje, confirmed the attack to newsmen but said that things were under control. Nguroje said that the attack was repelled, but the identities of those behind is as yet unknown. And 8 women have been abducted on a farm in Gombe village in Gwargwada Chiefdom in Kuje Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. Residents of the community say that the kidnap happened around 5 p.m. on Monday. A chief from a village in the chiefdom who preferred anonymity confirmed the abduction, saying that 4 out of the 8 women are from one house. The FCT police is yet to confirm the incident. And that's your Security Watch this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Do stay tuned. More conversations up next today in the news. Good morning.
Good morning. This is your daily Security Watch on Now Breakfast. Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM. The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. If it touches your business, your family, your city, your schools, or your safety, we've got you covered. Everything that affects you is our concern. So, we go beyond, getting all the facts and serving you news and information you can trust.
There was 10 million liters of fuel made available at some point, which was not made available at the time because obviously it had to be brought in.
The attack this Gayo village, Keru, and the Takalafia villages today is one of the many attacks.
Radio Now, 95.3 FM Lagos, Beyond the News. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outgoing official of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegality.
Real stories every morning.
Most of the IDP, they stay in schools, and once they move in schools, when there is a disaster, the school in that area is automatically shut down.
This is Today in the News on Now Breakfast.
Today in the news this morning, the 2024-2026 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework (MTEF) and Fiscal Strategy Paper has been approved by the House of Representatives. The MTEF is a multi-year public expenditure planning exercise that is used to set out the future budgetary requirements of existing services and to assess the resource implications of future policy changes and any new program. The framework has an oil price benchmark of $73.76 and $69.90 per barrel, and daily crude oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day, 1.80 million barrels per day, and 1.81 million barrels per day for 2024, 2025, and 2026, respectively. It also projects a gross domestic product growth rate of 3.76%, 4.22%, and 4.78% during the years 2024, 2025, and 2026. To get a better sense of these projections and the implications on our economy, we're joined this morning by Mukhtar Mohammed. He is an economist. Mr. Mohammed, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Mohammed, can you hear me? All right, you're still listening to Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM. We will connect with Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed very, very shortly. But yes, of course, we're talking this morning about the 2024-2026 medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper FSP, which has been approved by the House of Representatives. The MTEF is a multi-year public expenditure planning exercise that is used to set out the future budgetary requirements for existing services, as well as assessing the resource implications of future policy changes and any new program. Now, the framework has an oil price benchmark of $73.76 and $69.90 per barrel, as well as a daily crude oil production of 1.78 Mbps, 1.80 Mbps, and 1.81 Mbps for the year 2024, 2025, and 2026 respectively. And it also projects a gross domestic product growth of 3.76%, 4.22%, and 4.78% during the years 2024, 2025, and 2026. Now, what do these numbers mean for the economy? This is according to the 2024 to 2026 MTEF and the fiscal strategy paper. What does it mean for us? We've been joined this morning now by economist Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So let's talk about the MTEF and its approval by the House of Representatives. A couple of numbers there. Projections of a GDP growth rate of 3.75%, 4.22%, and 4.78% during the period covering next year and 2026. First of all, what are your thoughts on these plans?
Well, ordinarily, for me, the plans are good, but maybe they are very ambitious, and I think that's what I can see from the plan that they sent is a very ambitious plan, because when you look at revenue, what they are saying to do, one who used to implement this budget, they are looking at revenue. And when it comes to revenue sometimes cannot be so certain. So you have those challenges, and again, revenues are based on some estimated targets. And once those target doesn't come through, there you have a challenge with revenue. And I don't think they are looking at those targets if those targets will actually be able to come through for them. So that's why they call it a budget estimation. So definitely it could be reticked, and as time goes on, it's not something that is certain. To use that word. So I think if you look at it, it's 2024 to 2026 sort of plan. For me, the only exciting thing I have with that budget has to do with the oil benchmark of $73.96, $73.76, and $69.90 and bench oil price, and daily oil production of 1.78 million barrel, 1.80 million barrel, 1.81 million barrel. For me, for 2024, 2025, I think that is very conservative. Also, I have a challenge with the exchange rate of 665. I wonder whether I will be able to achieve that before 2024. So, the GDP growth of 3.76% and 4.22 is very, very ambitious. If you look at our GDP growth of today, we have about 1.something%. So, for me, it's an ambitious plan, but again, like I said, it's just a plan.
On the off chance that we do, where does that leave us economically?
Economically, when you look at this data, you're afraid, because if you look at
and I ask that because you've expressed some concern regarding its achievability or its practicability, which is why I'm asking. So on the off chance,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, go.
Economically, it leaves us in an uncertain position, because see it will go down, looking at all the numbers they are putting in there, and spending 26 trillion, retail revenue 16.9 trillion, budget is 9 trillion, new borrowing. The new borrowing 7.8 trillion. Remember, we're already in borrowing. We're already in a dilemma when it comes to borrowing. And then you look at what you call recurrent expenditure. You look at recurrent expenditure at 10.2 trillion, and then you look at capital expenditure at 5.9 trillion. So what we've been using for capital expenditure, what we're using for debt servicing is more than what we are using for capital expenditure. So definitely what it means that we still have infrastructural challenges. So I mean, if you look at the budget, it's very ambitious and it doesn't look workable at all.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed, for joining us this morning on The Conversation. We have just talked about the MTEF and FSP and what it does mean for us. Too many numbers and a few projections here and there. Of course, Mr. Mokhtar Mohammed, who is an economist, has given us his thoughts regarding this plan and the projections so far and how achievable it is going forward in the near future. Stay close, more conversations underway.
You're listening to Now Breakfast. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
This is Now Breakfast.
Still today in the news on Now Breakfast, the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Moses Thomas Sule, and his deputy Gotan Fom have resigned their positions. They have both been replaced by Gabriel Dewang, representing Pankshan North State Constituency, and Honorable Timothy Datong, representing Riom constituency respectively. Although the reason for their resignation is as yet unknown, reports say that their resignation could be connected to the sacking of Governor Caleb Mutfwang and some PDP lawmakers in the state assembly by the Court of Appeal. Now, to get a better sense of this and a possible reason why, we're joined this morning by a journalist who is based in Plateau State, Mr. Ardo Musa. And Mr. Musa, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Is there a background to these resignations that we're seeing at this moment?
Well, virtually everyone knows the political atmosphere that is having in Plateau, especially with regard to the issue of party structure, which has now consumed a lot of PDP lawmakers. It is a well-known fact that all the 7 lawmakers in the National Assembly who contested the election on the platform of PDP have all been sacked. And if you know, or if you look at it very well, all the PDP lawmakers in the State Assembly are also product of the same PDP that the Court of Appeal said that they don't have structure. So, with this development, everybody is looking at it as if maybe the Speaker and his deputy, they don't want a situation whereby if the APC members who are expected to at least resume to the State Assembly possibly next week will just come and sack them. So for that reason, they just have to honorably resign even before their arrival. This is what some people are looking at it, or this is how some people are looking at it at the moment. But then again, according to the Speaker, that is the former Speaker who then tendered his resignation and his deputy yesterday, according to him, he said resignation is also part of good leadership, because leadership is not all about you, but about the generality of the people. As a leader, sometimes you have to make some sacrifice So the resignation, according to him, is out of patriotism.
Right.
That certain things are happening. Some of them know that yes, there are a lot of things that are happening, and they have to get things right.
Okay. So how are the other members reacting to this incident or this event, the resignation, that is?
Are you talking about the
other members of the assembly? Yes,
party?
yes.
Is it from the opposition or
both?
From the,
both actually.
Pardon?
Both actually.
Okay. Well, the PDP members all in the House of Assembly. In the State House of Assembly, we have 24 members, out of which PDP has 16, the APC has 7, while the YPP has 1. So, virtually, whatever decision is taken, I'm very sure all the PDP members do it unanimously. Whatever a decision is taken, they agree, all of them. And, what happened yesterday was all the APC members were not present when the Speaker tendered his resignation and the new Speaker emerged. So we have not heard from the APC because all of them were not present when the Speaker announced his resignation. But for the APC, for the PDP, I'm sure that it is a unanimous decision taken because I'm very sure they all have the same opinion. But then the Speaker say, the former Speaker said, it's personal, you understand? His resignation is personal, you understand? So both of them, the APC, were not present, and we have not heard from them yet. But the PDP, I'm very sure, for even being present during the resignation, that alone has given you a kind of understanding that yes, it is a unanimous or a collective opinion of all the members that were present yesterday, including the Speaker, who is from another party, that is a minority party, that is a young progressive party, that is YPP.
Right, quickly, what does this mean for the PDP right there now in the state?
It is very glaring, even though one cannot just conclude. But what happened to these members? Where the appeal court took all their or some of their members on the same ground that the other people have not been, or rather their case have not been decided. So they just feel that okay, since Mr. A was sacked because of committing this offense, possibly Mr. B will also be sacked because of the same offense. So all of them have the same issue, and virtually all the petitioners, that is those who came second during the election, took them to court because of this same issue of party structure, and some of them were already sacked. So they believe that pending the determination of their cases, they just conclude that okay, possibly they could also determine our cases in the same way with our colleagues who have been also sacked. And one thing that I think is very, very important is this. Even the Speaker and his deputy, their cases are yet to be determined. But then, just like what I told you, they already saw what happened to some of their members. So they felt that before they even could say, okay, the Speaker and his deputy have been sacked because of this. So it is better for them to now resign, so that at the end of the day, it will not maybe speak more volume than if they are the Speaker and the deputy of the House.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Musa, for joining us on the program this morning. Mr. Ado Musa is a journalist based in Plateau State. He has spoken with us, giving us what he has found out, perceivably to be the reason that the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly and Moses Thomas Sule, his deputy, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Moses Thomas Sule, and his deputy, Guotuan Fom, why they both resigned from their positions. More conversations coming up very shortly. Stay close.
This is Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Still today in the news, former President Olusegun Obasanjo says that the Western style of democracy is not working in the African continent. According to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, what the continent needs is Afro-democracy, a system of government whose definition and design the Africans craft for themselves. He also says that democracy in Africa needs to serve and be for the majority and not for only a few people like we have at the moment. To give his thoughts on this and more on what it does mean in true sense is Professor Yusuf Ali Zoga, a professor of political science. He joins us this morning, a professor of political science at the University of Abuja. He joins us this morning. Good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Right. Given what former President Olusegun Obasanjo said, what are your thoughts? Is what he has proposed that we have what we really, really need at this time?
Well, you see, if we are practicing something that is not working, and we are told that that would be the means for us to develop, and rather than developing, we are not. And of course, we have to rethink the entire system. So for me, I think that his proposal that we should domesticate the democracy, it's a very good proposal, because you cannot practice Western style democracy exactly the way it is practiced in the Western world. It's not going to work, because the system evolved, within that, environment, and therefore you cannot transplant it on the continent and expect it to work the same way it has been working in the Western world. So there is need really for us to look inwards to see what are the democratic practices that we have been involved, with in the past, in our history, so that we can, adjust some of the things we are having now, and then practice so that it can work for us.
Professor, broad strokes, all cards on the table. Is this really achievable given the peculiarity of our existence, as it were? And by that, I'm talking about the Afrocentric democracy, which former Mr. President is proposing.
It's possible. So you cannot just copy a system and say to work for yourself. If you look at what the socialist, governments have been doing, what they've done is, okay, they are taking socialism as the system they want to use, but they try to domesticate it. That's why you hear the Chinese will tell you that they are practicing democracy with Chinese characteristics. If you go to Venezuela, they tell you they are practicing socialism with Venezuelan characteristics. So we cannot practice democracy in Nigeria without domesticating it with Nigerian characteristics, because we have a history, we have a system of government that we've been practicing in the past. Some were democratic, some were not. Now, essentially, taking democracy, then how do we now domesticate it so that it will reflect, our own, peculiar characteristics? For instance, you don't find any form of opposition within the African continent. So how can you now practice democracy with opposition? It becomes a problem. That's why you see that when they go into opposition, they think what they can do is to eliminate, themselves. So how do we now, mitigate that? Maybe remove that, completely from our system and have cooperation instead of opposition, because that's what most of these other countries are doing. They have what they call democratic cooperation rather than opposition. So in our own case, you are practicing competitive democracy with opposition. And really, there's nothing. What are you really opposing? You find that at the end of the day, there is no any strong opposition really, because the parties don't even exist in the real sense of a political party, and the institutions as we are seeing them, are eroded completely because of the lack of understanding. If you take the judiciary gone, the executive gone, the executive is not doing its work, then what sort of system is that? Because if you go back to take some of the scholars of democracy, everybody propose that for you to really say affecting democracy, you must have a strong per capita income. But it's very propose that per capita income should hold between $5,000 to about $8,000, and Nigeria is paying $3,000, which means that's what most of these challenges. And so I think really it is time to look inwards and look how do we domesticate. And certainly we cannot just say, we governance, because we have a system of government that was working for us. In the for instance, if you had a legislative house where if the leader is not performing, commit suicide. You know, so it will not say the leader should commit suicide now, but because we have to find a way to say that he has to leave if he's not performing. So we cannot have a system that is not working for the majority of the people, that is working for a few. So you can see the kind of they are making. They want to buy vehicles 160 million, while the real price, if you are buying a company price, is less than that. And of course, when you buy a dozen vehicles, they give you one cash. They give you one free. So who's going to collect all those free out of the 360-something members? How many dozen we have? So there are things, we need to scrutinize a lot of things. We don't allow, because democracy, if you have a strong civil society, scrutinizing every step taken, then the government will not be accountable, it will not be transparent, it will not have inclusivity, there will be no rule of law. So I think we need to step up our own system, look inwards, and see how do we indigenize it.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
That was Professor Yusuf Ali Zorka, a professor of political science at the University of Abuja. He's joined us this morning to give us his thoughts on the proposition of Afrocentric democracy by the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, saying that Western style of democracy is not exactly what we need because it isn't working for us. More conversations coming up. Next is Brands Now. Stay very close. This is Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Babes, now how much be sanitary pad for your area?
Omo, na play we been dey play before. Everybody wey dey this place wey be human being, na pad dey buy take do period. She go bring her wrapper, cut all her wrapper wey she get. They use the do period. Which kind of nonsense be this?
Ijoma, see what you are saying to your fellow woman who is in need. Ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ti pọ̀ jù.
Na so they use cloths now. Abi we no go chop first.
Auntie Ijoma, what did my mommy ever do to you? It's not fair.
Now if a story be this, My Period, My Pride radio drama season 1. Now sanitary pad media campaign power up with support from MacArthur Foundation and Radio Now 95.3 FM every Saturday at 10 a.m.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The general public is hereby advised to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Verify the licensing status of such schemes on this website: www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call 0700 225 5226, 0800 225 5226, or +234 817 665 6273. Announcer, FSRCC.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Welcome back. It is still Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and once again welcome to Brands Now. If Chinese cuisine is your fancy, if it does turn your pages and tickle you in some really wonderful ways, then you want to be part of this one. Porkyvite NG, fast food Chinese barbecue and takeout establishment here in Lagos, has got you covered. And I've got Mike Adetola this morning on Brands Now. He is the customer care representative of Porkyvite NG. He's going to tell us a thing or two about the brand. Good morning, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity. How do you do today?
How do you do? Right.
Yeah,
So first of all, did I get the pronunciation well? Porcuvite.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Awesome stuff. So tell me, tell us rather, who is porcuvite?
All right. Porcuvite is a pork dish where we make use of pork, add value to pure pork to make several Chinese cuisines. People don't really understand that pork can be used for several meals, so they are so focused on chicken, on beef, turkey. But we decided to pick pork because we know that it is a versatile meat that can be used for so many things. So instead of using it for local meals, we just felt, let's just try Chinese cuisine. Let's see how it's going to work. And we found out that people were receptive about it, they loved it, and we've been making so many sales from it. So we are trying to also educate people that pork can be used for so many diverse kind of meals. So that was how Porcuvite NG came to be, and we've been serving people ever since.
Awesome stuff. That is some good innovation right there. All right. I mean, like the old sage said, innovation is the unrelenting drive to break the status quo and develop anew where few have dared to go. So I'm guessing you guys have taken the road barely traveled to do something different with pork as opposed to the other kinds of meat. Okay, then. Awesome stuff. So how long has Porcuvite been in existence?
Porcuvite was a year old last month, October 23rd or 22nd, and it has not been an easy ride, really, because when we started last year, we had a lot of people tell us, pork, can you do, do people eat pork, this and that, so a lot of discouragement here and there, but we just had to persevere. We changed the menus over time, try this out, try that out. We started with some local meals at first. We started with chips and pork. So until we just struck a thought that we can do Chinese cuisines with this, and obviously most Chinese meals are on pork. Only a few with chicken, beef, but most Chinese meals are on pork. So we just decided to adopt that. So people who go to Chinese restaurants and get these Chinese meals at high prices can also get us at an affordable rate and get the same and if not a better experience. So we were just 1 year old last month.
And you're saying that what sets you apart from the other bigger guys, or if you like the big boys, is your affordability, is it not?
Yes.
How sure am I at this point in time that you wouldn't charge me an arm and a leg when I come by Porcuvite? Because I'm looking at your page right now. I did check it out earlier, but right now I'm doing that again, and it looks like something that's going to cost just enough to buy a land in the city somewhere.
No.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So far, how has it been? How's the ride been? You did say earlier that it's not been an easy ride, and that's that's understandable considering how difficult it can be to start up a business. Most startups, according to the experts, they have a shelf life of 0 to 5 years, and if they thrive after then there's a chance that they're doing something right. But besides all of that, given the fact that you're taking a road, quote unquote, less traveled, what was the initial reception like comparatively?
I think the first reception we had was from friends. Some people, some of our friends who ate probably about 20 years ago, they had some bad experiences, and they said, okay, let us try yours. And when they try what we do, they feel like, this is nice, this is preferable, they like this. And we also improved on customer delivery. We know that the case for us to have good sales, have good numbers, we need to have more returning customers, and we also need so those returning customers will reach out to more new prospective customers, which happened. So from people buying a meal to 3 meals to 5 meals, so we had so much returning customers. As at August, we already made about 105 meals. Several people. We make these meals from our little kitchen somewhere at Cotton God Road. So we were just bootstrapping,
you see, and trying to test out the grounds. Right? So we understand that we have the market share to ourselves. We are not competing with the like of Chicken Republic and so on.
No, don't mention other brands. We're talking.
No. Yeah, sorry. So we are not competing with those who do chicken, who do peas, and so on and so forth. So we just have this market share for ourselves, and is asked for our taking. So the more we reach out to people, the more we deliver to them, and it has been okay. We've learned so many stuff along the line.
Good stuff. So, Mike, we have our wonderful friends listening, and they are curious as to where you are located in the city and how they can get to you.
Okay. So, we are at Sekoto Ngodo Road. That is where we are presently. So we are still working out on getting space for ourselves, where we could meet a much more larger audience. So we make this move from our kitchen, our private kitchen, so people can just make orders online or look at our catalog on WhatsApp and get in contact with us, and we just make delivery to them.
When you talk about being reached online, where exactly can you be reached?
You can get us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at BokeBiteNG, and our WhatsApp line, business WhatsApp line, is also there too, where they could just contact us easily, get to see our catalog and talk to us.
All right then. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining us. But before you go, do you have a readily available WhatsApp line?
Yes. So we do have a readily available WhatsApp line.
All right then, let's hear it.
0913 401 2206. 0913 401 2206.
Okay, fancy speaking with you today, Mike. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Right, Mike Adetola is the customer care representative at Pokivite NG. They have joined us this morning to talk about their brand. Somewhere in the heart of Lagos, Ikondo, as he said. Do check them out when you can. That's it on today's edition of Brands Now. You're still listening to Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. My name is David Chiedu, and up next is the news review. Some more conversations on there. If you will stay tuned, we'll get into them in a few clicks.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
The DPO, the Divisional Police Officer who is on grounds there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in the localities, and the people are afraid to
discuss. So many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The general public is hereby advised to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Verify the licensing status of such schemes on these websites: www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call 0700 225 5226, 0800 225 5226, or +234 817 665 6273. Announcer, FSRCC.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Now Breakfast
Let's go beyond the news. Let's talk facts.
First and foremost, the government will never kowtow to the threat of any group to give it conditions.
Let's discuss your opinion.
The politicians in Nigeria don't understand the principle of politics.
The day's biggest news stories.
IPOB have been covered in themselves in glory. There is nothing special about them. It's like a witch cried at night and the child died falling money.
This is the news review on Now Breakfast.
Welcome again to the news review on Now Breakfast this morning here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos for Wednesday. I am David Chiedu, and joining us on the news review this morning as our analyst, Professor Anthony Killer. Good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good to be here.
All right then. You know the numbers. It's 089 or 0809 682 2595. That is on WhatsApp, by the way. On the other side of the 8 o'clock hour, I would reel out the other numbers, the phone numbers actually, that you can call to get in touch with us and give your thoughts on the conversation. But first off, before we get into the dailies for this, for the conversation, we're going to take a look at some of the stories that have made the rounds of the last 24 hours or thereabout, right? Now, Professor, yesterday we saw former President Olusegun Obasanjo coming out to say that a few judges shouldn't upturn, that it's out of place or it's out of order for a few judges to upturn millions of voters' choices, saying that what we need is Afro-democracy as opposed to the Western-styled liberal democracy that we have been practicing. And then, of course, in that same space, we also saw the Lagos State Governor coming out to talk about some mistakes, if you like, being made in the itemization of expenditure and all of that, talking about how he welcomes criticism. This, as it were, follows the whistleblowing over the weekend by the ADC candidate, governorship candidate, Mr. Doherty, that is. And then, of course, we also yesterday saw former Mr. President talking about Muhammadu Buhari, coming out in an interview and giving his thoughts on some of the things that happened while he was in office, including saying that the fight against corruption should have been the problem of the Nigerians who were criticizing him, and they should have done that at their own level, as opposed to waiting for him to do that. So in that space of time, which of the stories, as he were, caught your fancy, or if you want to respond or react rather to the ones I've just mentioned?
Well, I think we should take it by one, from the list you've made. Let us start from the last one of the former president, saying Nigerians should have done things. He practically said Nigerian citizens should have taken the lead. I think that's correct to put it that way. That the Nigerians should have been fighting corruption instead of, I don't know if it's instead of waiting for him, or even instead of delegating to him as president to fight. And that smacks of backlighting, because in reality, it is the position of leaders to show a path and then to persuade and encourage the followers to follow that path, not the other way around. Not for leaders to say the citizens should do, then we the leaders will follow you. Otherwise, what are they called leaders for?
I know, right?
What are they? Yeah, I think that I think such a statement is a naive but offensive statement to the intelligence of some of us. I think we have to be very clear and not allow it to fly. We can understand being overwhelmed, being inept, or even incompetent before being aloof to matters. But to justify a narrative that followers should have taken the lead is not something we can allow. It's worse than being incompetent. It then becomes manipulative, which is not be allowed. That is my, position on that.
But Professor, on a personal note, I do think he makes quite the salient point, albeit on the general aspect of it. Of course, you've spoken the minds of many Nigerians. But on a personal note, if we were to give him the benefit of the doubt, he does make a point, because he said that they should have done that at the individual level. And if you look at the construct of corruption itself, by its very nature, it's not just it doesn't have just one definition. I mean, the things we see on a day-to-day basis in the offices, on the roads, and all of that, they smack of corruption. So perhaps he does have a point when he said that people who are criticizing should have done a wee bit of that.
Sorry. He hasn't got a single point. So let me put it this way. You see, there's sometimes that some things appear commonsensical, and but they're not. They're actually silly. We're not deceptive. The idea that one man cannot solve corruption, everybody should do it, is a wrong thing for two reasons. Number one, it's wrong because a study of corruption by experts, and some of us have written about corruption, will show that there needs to be a lead. There needs to be a vision, there needs to be implementation to stop corruption. But I'm going to tell you what those things are. Corruptions are caused mainly, generally speaking, by two things. One is, actually, let's make it three. One is scarcity. The other is uncertainty. And the third is impunity. You see, scarcity comes when there's scarcity. Say, for example, you put the best students or the best citizens in a room or in one environment, and you do not provide enough food or water, and they are the best people. After a while, they start to beg and bribe for essentially like food or water, and that is the origin of corruption. Scarcity. That's an political economic reason for corruption. And it doesn't matter who these people are, whether they are saints, wherever they're from, as long as they lack, there will be a tendency to beg and bribe, and then perhaps even steal. That is how corruption shows its face. The other reason why it shows its face is where there is chaos or uncertainty, where somebody in an office, on a chair, or on a seat rather, or somewhere, can decide regardless of what the law clearly states. So, for example, when you go to some offices and you say, what do I need to get this permit? And they say, well, show me all the documents you have. I always say, no, don't tell me to show you the document I have. You show me a checklist of precisely what I need. And whilst you are at it, sir, madam, tell me the turnaround of your office. What is your service charter? You see, where there is no service charter, a service charter for our viewers is something that tells you the duties of that office, that tells you we deal with every complaint or we deal with every submission within 3 working days, so that you see the obligation as well. And a checklist is what tells you the exact items of what you need to submit. You do all these things so that there is transparency, and the person you're dealing with has not got the discretion to deal with you based on whether they like you or loathe you. That is where certainty comes from. So that way, you don't need to beg and bribe them. I keep insisting this begging and bribe because that is how corruption shows its face. Then the third part that leads to corruption is impunity. Once you can deal with scarcity, once you can deal with once you're lured by scarcity, once lack of scarcity, yes, and once lack of certainty allows corruption to show its face. If then you can corrupt or be corrupted and then get away with it, therein the formula for corruption. These are the three things. So how do you deal with all these? Leadership needs to come in to say, as from now on in this country, every office you go must be transparent, i.e. checklist, must be accountable, i.e. service charter, and through if anybody flouts the law, this exactly is what's going to happen. And on my part, I will start by declaring my assets and I will start behaving this way, and then people will sit up. That is one part. You see, that is the method, that is the duty that the leader, the vision the leader needs to provide and duty they need to absorb. The second part of it is that when you say the thing should have been done in other cases, you are one man that went to say vote for me because I'm Mr. Anti-Corruption and you got 1 million votes. That makes your responsibility even more. So please, dear listeners, don't listen to David. The man has no salient points.
Well, that was me playing devil's advocate. I mean, at first read and at first listen, and because I watched it as well before reading the transcript later on. I mean, I couldn't stand the first 5 minutes of it. I really couldn't stand it. It stung my ear, and so I settled for reading the transcript later on. But just to not see just the hole in the donut, to pick one tiny edible part of that donut, I decided to just cut him some slack and see if perhaps we could pick any
you've done
positive
your
at
best
all.
to defend him. Yeah, you've done your best, but the man is undefensible.
All right then, Professor, stand by. We're going to continue the conversation on the other side of the 8 o'clock hour. Stay close. This is Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. The news update is next.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
DPO, the divisional police officer who is on ground there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in the localities, and the people are afraid to
There's so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news. Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
Across Nigeria, Africa and the world, this is Radio Now News.
The news headlines at 8 this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. In local news, we welcome criticism, says Sanwo-Olu, on controversial expenses. Shatima pledges more support for creative industry. Appeal court dismisses SDP's petition, affirms Fintiri as Adamawa State Governor. Senators tackle Akpabio over choice of Senate minority leaders. And in business and economy, the federal government revokes 1,633 mining licenses. On the foreign scene, South Africa accuses Israel of war crimes and genocide. And to sports, Messi's Inter Miami to face Ronaldo's Al Nassr in February 2024. And those are the headlines this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Many thanks for joining us. I am David Chiedu. Now breakfast continues shortly with the news review. Good morning.
This is Radio Now News.
This is Now Breakfast.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
You're still listening to Now Breakfast here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and this is the news review. Let's have your thoughts, share your thoughts with us regarding some or all of what we have touched on in the last couple of minutes. 091 35000 953 0901 111 1953, and on WhatsApp it's 0809 682 2595. That's on WhatsApp, by the way. The phone numbers again are 09135000953, 0901111953. And Professor Anthony Killer is with us this morning on the program. So we've talked a little bit about some of the statements made by the former president Muhammadu Buhari in that interview that he was on yesterday, courtesy of the NTA. But then again, of course, the other things I mentioned, Professor, if you still want to react to them, Mr. Sanwo-Olu coming out to, respond. I mean, this is, as we know, the first official statement, essentially, to that effect. But then again, a similar story, has it that somewhere, in the southwest as well, in Osun State to be exact, Governor Adeleke, was reported to have spent 6 billion to run his office in 3 months, according to the state's budget performance report. And this is covering July, to September of 2023. So, Professor, let's start with that of the Lagos State government, and then, of course, if you want to, we can touch on Osun State. Because Mr. Governor, say that again.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Sanwo-Olu did say that there were some mistakes, and that these things
there were mistakes.
Could happen.
There were mistakes in handling the biggest economy in Africa. Wait, hang on a second. Can you please explain the Lagos State situation to me like a 4-year-old?
Okay. So
yes.
Okay. Do I go on?
Yes, do, because you have a way of explaining this thing. You're Mr. Political Correct. Go ahead.
Over the weekend, Mr. Doherty, that is the ADC candidate, wrote an open letter.
Qualified accountant and
exactly
and economy of Nigeria.
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. So he, made the revelation in an open letter, and of course, as you know, Nigerians wouldn't see or hear things like that and keep quiet about it. So as usual, the backlash and criticisms, were evoked. But then days later, which was yesterday, by the way, Mr. Governor, at a function, he was at the state capitol to inaugurate the Lagos State Building Control Agency, and so he said that he welcomed the open letter by Mr. Funsho Doherty, right? But then again, he went on to talk about some of the items laid out courtesy of those documents and all of that. He said that some mistakes were made, that he's leading a team of dedicated professionals or dedicated public officials, but that in the process that there were some mistakes, and particularly talking about the particular one he heard, which was the item that was meant to be 2 million but was written as 2 billion, and a couple of other things that were said, but saying that, of course, the criticism, if the criticism is is constructive as opposed to being malicious and aimed at misrepresenting the truth, then he would probably, his government would accept it. So yeah, what are your thoughts regarding this?
Okay, we're all fine then. So we have clerical errors, or a bunch of illiterates, or people who cannot write, or thief in government. Well, I think at some point we shall discover what really happened. I just want our listeners to imagine the situation like an estate where we all live in the same estate and we pay our dues, and then we mandate a chairman or manager to manage the funds. Then one of the residents discovered that they've been spending some kind of amount, in one way. Then 2 days later, the manager or the chairman tells us, okay, so there's some errors. If it's a criticism, I will take it, then I'll correct it. And hey, by the way, we're supposed to write 2 million, we wrote 2 billion. And, okay, fine, everybody, case closed. Let's see what will happen inside that estate if that's the kind of situation. Because sometimes we make matters of governance as if they're kind of abstract or things that are beyond us. No, they are listeners, they're not. We should simplify them and let us see exactly the sense of it. The accounts of the state are managed by people who are competent to do so. They're certified, they've been vetted, they are paid for it to do so. In how many organizations do we have this kind of errors occur? So we need to ask ourselves truly, as we're doing audit, are we dealing with incompetence? Are we dealing with errors? Are we dealing with outright deceit and manipulation? And we have to ask this so that we know, so that it doesn't repeat itself. That is what is called institution building. Not just and people who say, Funcho Dot is doing it because the politician. Yes. Legitimate to do so for any reason to do so. It doesn't even matter if he's trying to find the failures of the government instead of applauding them. And people just say criticism has to be constructive. It doesn't have to be. Anybody can criticize any way they like. It is your duty that you're in power to do your bit beyond the criticism. It doesn't matter. People can call me short, though I'm not. People can call me a woman, though I'm not. It is my duty to play well basketball. But they can say anything. Anybody can say anything they like. But especially if you're not the one doing the job. Once they're doing the job. So, and I want listeners to take this. You can say anything about Dave, but you can't take it with as a good broadcaster. His voice is clear. He summarizes well. He has questions. So you can say you don't like him. Fine. But can you hear him clearly? Which is what he's paid to do. Do you get his summaries? Does he allow you to talk? That is what you need. So let's stop making things complicated or esoteric or some kind of subjective. Otherwise, we're not going to move forward in this country. And I'm starting to lose my patience with unnecessary complications.
Well, your sentiments is more or less similar to majority of Nigerians at this point in time, because there's just a little too much in between. Right, let's go over to the dailies proper this morning. 091 35000 953 and 0901 111 1953. And on WhatsApp, 0809 682 2595. Those are the numbers to get in touch and share your thoughts with us this morning on the News Review. My name is David Chiedu, and Professor Anthony Killer is with us as our guest this morning on the show. So on The Guardian, at the front page of The Guardian, first headline you see there: amid heavy dockets, electoral cases overwhelm judges and justice system. It has a very colorful infographic there. Says 346 judges drawn from various courts for electoral duties. 10 out of 21 apex court justices saddled with 6,884 cases. Judiciary constitutes 98 panels for 1,209 electoral petitions, and fastest case from High Court to Supreme Court may take an average of, get this, 30 years. Interesting stuff. The riders underneath that, judiciary constitutes 98 panels to hear 1,209 electoral cases, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And then, of course, circles right back to the state. In Lagos, 65 judges, 146 magistrates. Others tackle over 11,000 cases yearly at a ratio of 358 cases per judge. Professor, I'm going to come to you very shortly for your thoughts on this one, but let's hear from Dr. Paul. Good morning, Dr. Paul.
Good morning, Professor Killer.
Good morning.
We cannot continue to associate what matters with the issue of corruption in this country. So many corruption issues that Lagos State is not involved. The man that ran the state from 1990 to 2007, when he left office, what happened? The party arrested him. He was accused of embezzlement motion before he was discharged. The controversial manner by court. It's quite unfortunate the way this country is being run. You see, if you see what they highlighted or the how governors are spending state funds, it's called for concern. It's called for concern. That is why Lagos said, to make some road motorable will last for 6 months. And you wonder, all the humongous amount they are making. What are they using it for? Some people are just taking the money. And we say that the country where you see supporter of government making excuses. No, you don't have to criticize them. You don't have to criticize them. You don't have a young resident. You don't need to criticize them because they are in opposition. They want to bring the roof down. You are this kind of people. I don't want to use those words and then are they really going through what Nigerians are passing through? That particular person. This excuses for everything. Now, David, that's what you are talking about the judiciary. You had the judgment coming up in Kano and the two judgments so far.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, right now there's a lot of uproar there following the release of the certified true copy of the appeal court judgment.
Absolutely. Just like the same thing in Plateau. So, all this thing is not we from the state. We was a member of CDP and APC. So it's not issue of
Dr. Paul, are you there? Hello, Dr. Paul. I think we lost Dr. Paul's phone call. All right, 091-35000. Dr. Paul, do call back. Let's hear the last, the end of your statement. 091 again, 35000 953 0901 111 1953 on WhatsApp. 0809 682 2595. Now, Professor, we seem to have a problem. We are plagued, essentially, if I should use that word loosely anyway, by a myriad of election cases. Just as I read earlier, 346 judges have been drawn from various courts for election duties. Now, judiciary has constituted 98 panels for 1,209 election petition cases, and the fastest case, according to that particular infographic, from High Court to Supreme Court, may take an average of 30 years. This worries me on a personal note. I don't know about you, because for what seems like forever now, I can't remember the last time we had any elections where we didn't have to use the courts to come out of, both at the federal, state and local, federal and state level. What are your thoughts, Professor? This is, still an ongoing conversation, and many are worried. Many are worried that
yes,
we might not come out of it. But go on.
Yeah, that we might not come out of it. Yeah, it's a shame that it affects people's lives, and it affects people's lives because it's a matter of wasted votes, i.e., votes that do not matter because the court matters more. It's affecting people's life, and that's a threat to
Professor. If I may hold you up for a little bit, please. I've got Ede joining us this morning. Hi, Ede. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Ted.
Good morning.
Mr. Killer, when is the man? You are welcome.
Right.
Good morning.
Do I hear you saying, talking about you say former president? Do I hear you saying that?
Yes, former President Muhammadu Buhari.
About your station from calling that man, please make Nigeria.
But he was the former president, Ede.
No. Make una to talk about that man. Na nightmare now. Don't you know? Na nightmare now, please. Don't spoil my money like this, Ted. I beg of you, please.
But in truth, how you feel doesn't change the fact that he was actually the president of the country. But let's okay, go on. Just go on. Go on with your thoughts. Go on with your thoughts.
Kano. No be angel of God right to that verdict. You know, sir, the judge and the main judge who read the verdict, he read a different thing, but the printer to come out in a different direction. What happened? I think the governor of Kano should take it to his pocket and not go and waste money again. He waits for them to come and return it. He will say, no, I get it from my father company, not be from court. I get this CPC. Now, let them come and explain. If they say it's a mistake, so be it. Now, my God, change them now. Don't you know that God can change anything at any time? you know, Charlie, why I say
All right, and it's a very serious issue. We may be laughing about it. It's very serious.
To us, to you, not be to us. We know what we know, and we know who you know.
All right, okay then.
Then Lagos, just a minute. Lagos mistake. Is it by favor or by which one? How do they come up by 2 million to become 20 million?
Well, according to the governor, it's a mistake.
How now? Is it by favor? Because you are not talking to a DAP. Come on. Hey, we are matured now. Come, you are talking like me. I'm 60 years age of the man. So don't tell me don't tell me cock and bull, please. For goodness sake. Do not spoil my day. I beg of you.
I'm not the one who came out to say it was a mistake now. It was the governor.
Some news where you go see no talker from out here now.
We just report the news, Ede. That's what we do, because people have been waiting to hear what Mr. Governor was going to say, and that was part of what he said. All right, it's only important that it's put out there what he has said in response to some of the things that have been said because of the release of those documents. But away from that, let's go to Professor Anthony Killer and your thoughts with regards to the judiciary and the election petitions in the country.
Oh yes, well the judiciary, I was saying that, it's a pity that it affects people's life, was my position, in the sense that voters whose votes do not count, and all of a sudden the whole process of who governs is decided in the courts. It's a matter of wasted vote, and those who are caught out of it are not happy about it because they've wasted time, money, energy, and a lot of emotions, which they didn't factor in the court in it, or at least they were not able to get their way in court. Then of course, there are people who had nothing to do with elections, but their own case is being held because election cases take precedence. One of the things you mentioned is that on the average it might take 30 years for a case to go through the Supreme Court because they're overwhelmed by other things. These things in which the highest deciding organ of government is the judiciary. And when I say highest, not just among the three organs of government, but even higher than sovereignty itself, higher than voters. It's a pity it's something that causes pain, but objectively looking at it, it's a very fascinating case to study for students of politics. And I say this knowing well that this is the same way someone would feel like when doctors say this is a very fascinating cancer to study. It's so rich, it grows so quickly, and it's really deadly. The students of medicine, cases like this are fascinating for them. Problem is that it's causing problem for other people's lives.
Okay,
that is where we are with the matter. Yes.
All right, let me hold you up a little bit. John joins us.
Please,
good morning, John.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning, Professor.
Yes.
What worries me also is that if we are taking so long to handle electoral issues in the courts, then there are people, Nigerian citizens, languishing in several jails whose cases should have taken a flimsy amount of time to adjudicate on and possibly find them innocent and set them free. But they are languishing in jail because the judges are busy with all kinds of issues on political matters. It is really unfair and it's really bewildering to see how bogged down our judiciary has become with so many matters that should have been easily resolved if the electoral body had simply done their job and conducted free, fair, and credible elections. The governor is telling us that it was a mistake. From my experience in procurement, there are very, very, very few mistakes. I say that again. From my own experience in procurement, there are very, very, very few mistakes. Now, if he's making mistakes with something like this, how many mistakes have been made for people whose houses were demolished because the government was claiming that they built them on the wrong places? How many mistakes have been made an infrastructural of the state. I mean, there is a chief of staff driving around in an almost $500 million naira vehicle. And in my senatorial district of Etiosa, there is not a general hospital for children. How is he running around the state in 500 million naira worth of a vehicle when Etiosa local government children don't have a general hospital that they can go to?
Actually, it's 440, but go on.
This is just crazy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. By the way, with regards to that, the state government says that the procurement of that vehicle, or those vehicles, the 440 million, is in tandem with economic realities. I didn't say it, the state government did, so don't come for me. All right. Professor, let's move quickly to a tangential story, to the one that we were talking about earlier, the judiciary story. We're still, again, talking about the judiciary, but before we get into that one, let's hear from Segun. Hi, Segun. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Actually, I was listening to all the callers, their notion, their thoughts. But my own is that I believe the three level of government in this country begin to have a flaw, like the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. I think they need to, I don't know what they need to do, because seriously, from 2019 till now, we need to have problems in the aspect of this government, when they run the government of this country. Okay, now, if somebody says he made a mistake in such a thing, like the last caller said that somebody is moving around the whole state with 420 million people, and there's no hospital, no good school, people are trying to eat and that. Now you have girls. So all those people, they need to be in place. So there need to be accountability. They need to check them. They need to look at. They need to tell us how did they run the resources of this country. And again, there is a problem in our financial system. Where are they putting that money? All these people, they need to check their account. How much do they have in account? How much is their salary? How much is their pension? How much is their what do you call allowances? How much is it? They need to. That's the problem. Any state, any country where there's no accountability, I think we'll begin to have this problem. And before we know, this country will become another thing. I just pray one day that we'll not just wake up one day and say that the country has been sold to politicians. I think this is a silly, let me not use that language. This is not the kind of thing we need to be hearing. Somebody made a mistake, two mistakes that can cause your state a kind of greater loss. No, it's not effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Professor, now let's go to that story. This time around we are on the Daily Trust newspaper. The headline there, confusion over contradictions in the CTC of appeal court judgment sacking Kano State Governor. Now on the Daily Trust you can find that on page 5. The riders underneath that, it is typographical error, Governors Council APC chieftain. Only Supreme Court will interpret it, says Governor Yusuf's lawyer. Now you remember what's happened with Kano over the last couple of days, and right now what we are seeing is a release of the certified true copy of the Court of Appeal's judgment delivered on the state's governorship election dispute. Now that has drawn the ire of many. Now recall that the appeal court affirmed the sacking of the state governor, Abba Yusuf, right, of the NNPP over the last couple of days, on Friday to be specific. And then of course the CTC, in the CTC of the judgment, that was seen yesterday, several rulings of the court in the judgment appear to be sharply contradictory, and this again casts quite the shadow, and not a very good one, on the judiciary again. Professor?
But I think we all need to be careful in the country. all these kind of errors and manifestations of incompetence. Actually, the errors are manifestations of incompetence. Is something that can lead to very terrible developments. I think somehow we need to rediscover competence, decorum, and a sense of institution in everything we do. Anybody who knows the history of Nigeria, or at least the history of Kano, and the cultural anthropology of Kano, will know that it's a very political and volatile place. So when you play with their political decision or destiny of economy this way, a lot is at risk, and we ought to be very, very careful with these things. I say this now with no partisan interest in all this matter anymore. I've left partisan interest for a while now. But, any observer will know which parties are popular in which states. And when we try to play with them or think we can just doctor them and walk away as if nothing has happened, it's a very dangerous game. It's what's that thing? I think it's the Russian roulette, where you spin it around and the consequence might be there. I would appeal to everybody, especially political actors and the judiciary, to look into themselves and find a sense of institution, decorum, decency, and the need not to be part of or cause of a shameful development for Nigeria.
We're going to get further into the conversation, but let's take your call. 091-350-953 and 0901-111-1953. Going back to the phone lines, we have got Dr. Paul back on the line. Welcome back, Dr. Paul.
David,
yes.
Let me conclude what I was saying before I was disrupted by the network. The issue of Rasmus spending of Nigerian money by state governors is quite unfortunate. Lagos State. If Lagos got it right, I think other states will follow. But I don't blame them. When you are president, the money is collected from me from subsidy, 700 naira, some states at the price of CMS. What did he say? 5 billion for the renovation of Reda, Sorok, and Isaac and Lagos. Then what do you expect governors to do? What do you expect governors to do? You see, the way this country is on is quite unfortunate. And you cannot do anything. You cannot say anything. If you don't say you are against the president, you are this, you are that. The way this country is going, they need the land us to unimaginable and unthinkable situation. On the judiciary, well, I think you have beneficiary. It doesn't stop there. Mohammed Dakido telling you that that's a road or the judiciary. Calling the DPA. It's saying to the thing. And when all these judgments is given, you wonder. And what other government will tell you when it's favored the other side. They will say democracy is not on that threat. When it's favored the other side, they will tell you that democracy is on course. I'm not full of that. What we are saying, how are we going to overhaul the judiciary? Because any country judiciary is in politics, that country is gone. Honestly. And that's what we have there now. Not only an next. Because the beneficiaries, now, why are they going to say, okay, let us overhaul the judiciary? Mr. President, what we're going to do is encourage them to do what they are doing.
Dr. Paul? Dr. Paul? I think we've lost Dr. Paul for a second time. Okay, Professor, just to draw a little bit, from what Dr. Paul has just said, some of his assertions about the implications on our democracy, what's happening in the judiciary. it's worrying. And another part that is quite striking about what he said is that in a system where you have the beneficiaries as the leading party, if you like, or the ruling party, there would be some reticence or if you like, reluctance to sanitize the system. But before we go on with your thoughts, Chief Joseph is joining us this morning on the program. Chief Joseph, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor Kila. Good morning, Chedu.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief.
In fact, we are running into confusion and anarchy. In the other radio, I was listening that Professor Bolaji Akiyemi made some statement concerning the confusion in the Kano judiciary ruling. What I want to say is this. These highly educated people that have passed through governance, passed through the system of our governance, that are still alive, what are they doing in their confine, in their enclave? They are not coming out to talk to people who are ruling us. What are the benefits they are deriving? What is the lawyers? What are they doing? Can they muzzle up themselves and come out to checkmate whatever is happening in this country? I believe they have another place to run to when there is confusion, because all these things are clamoring to anarchy. Because by the day the people will rise up, it will be like a church play. I'm an old man. I witnessed the Civil War. The Civil War started from Western election. It is in the history. I'm not manufacturing this. And it was like a church play. The ruling class, the ruling government then thought they can gloat over it. But it is snowballed into Civil War that the Western region pushed that thing onto the Easterners. They inherited what it was not their making. It is going to happen again in this country, and that will be the end of everybody. If the allies of this country will continue to be docile, they look at the market women to only talk. They look at the labor union, they say it is only labor. And the educated unions, those who are supposed to be talking aloud, they are keeping quiet. People are coming here to derail us, and we want to be a nation, we want to be a country. It is an impossible journey. So Ede is warning. Ede is a lament or two. I listen to him when he talks. We laugh. But the reality is coming very soon when we do not expect it. So that's my thing. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Chief Joseph. All right. Professor, let's round up with your thoughts.
Well, I think, the speaker, those who have called in, or those who have spoken passionately, but more worryingly, which concern. And we just have to hope, but remind everybody that we should all do our best wherever we are to make sure that the worst scenarios do not come to fore in the country. And the way to do that is for everybody to just do their bit, because if the judiciary just did what he ought to do, we won't have this problem. If those in government limited themselves to governance instead of profligacy and errors, we won't have the problem where we are. The issues we're dealing with are not some mysterious cases of nature. It is individuals that decide to, people that decide to make error or inadvertently make errors and cross kills. Somebody, I think it was Dr. Paul, who said something that got me really scared, worried, and thinking that if they make errors with account, what if they've destroyed people's house in error?
That was John.
What if they demolished their people's property?
That was John.
In error, it was John. I mean, that's a strong analogy. That's food for thought to everybody. And I want to tell people that is why institutions is what we're asking for, not human performance. Because there is no president, there is no governor, there is presidency and there is a governor's office. So that every step taken by those in power should be deliberated, consulted, documented, and vetted to avoid this kind of thing. So you can't say the president did it when he was sleepy, because it doesn't matter if he's sleepy anyway. There's a team that vets policy, that check compliance before decisions are made. That is the whole system we ought to be running, and when we don't do that, this is what we get.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Anthony Killer, for joining us today on the program. As Nabila fondly calls you, our Wednesday man. Well, thank you very much, Professor, again, for being a part of it. And that's exactly where we are going to draw the curtains on the news review. But stay close now. Breakfast continues shortly with Business Now. And then, of course, we'll come right back later on for the curtain drawer, as I like to put it. My name is David Chiedu, David being my first name and how you should address me rather than my last name or my surname, which is Chiedu. So it's David first before the other. Thank you very much. Aramoni is in the studio. Don't call her Aramoni. She might not take it lightly. Her name is Aramide Folorunsho, and she's got Business Now. She's got you covered on Business Now. Stay close.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. If it touches your business, your family, your city, your schools, or your safety, we've got you covered. Everything that affects you is our concern. So, we go beyond, getting all the facts and serving you news and information you can trust.
There was 10 million liters of fuel made available at some point, which was not made available at the time because obviously it had to be brought in.
They attacked this Gayo village, Keru, and the Takalafia village yesterday. It's one of the many attacks.
Radio Now, 95.3 FM Lagos. Beyond the news.
Connect with us now via our social media channels. Facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Be a part of our online community on Facebook. Like our page on www.facebook.com/This Is Radio Now to join every conversation on air and get up-to-date news information on the go.
From the Central Business District of Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, this is 95.3 Business Now.
Wednesday, the 22nd of November. A warm welcome to the program. I am Aramide Folorunsho. Let's get started. The ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development has partnered with Wema Bank, a Nigerian Tier 2 lender, to provide a $50 million line of credit to the bank to support Nigerian small and medium enterprises in agribusiness sector. The president of EBID, George Donko, says the agreement with Wema Bank aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goals 2 and 5, which focus on food security and gender equality while enhancing agricultural products, regional value, and socio-economic growth. The Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority has partnered with a US-based private equity firm Z Capital Group to establish an investment infrastructure fund for the African continent. The venture aims to invest in equity debt and a mix of financial instruments in various sectors, including healthcare, digital and social infrastructure, renewable energy, and climate-smart agriculture, with a fundraising goal of $1 to $2 billion US. The African Development Bank Group is set to become the first multilateral lender to issue a hybrid note. That's according to the bank's acting treasurer, Omar Sefeni. Speaking in an interview with Reuters news agency, Omar stated that the note, which will be sized between $500 million and $1 billion, will be issued before the end of November if the market conditions are right. The African Export-Import Bank has received the Sustainable Deal of the Year award for its pioneering work in the establishment and development of the Liquidity and Sustainability Facility, a vehicle that seeks to increase liquidity and demand for Eurobonds issued by African governments. The award, issued by Solo Global 2023, highlights the positive impact which increased demand for these Eurobonds can have in promoting investment in sustainable infrastructure, and development across Africa. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has given the foreign shipping companies lifting Nigeria's crude oil till December 31st to reconcile their tax records. The FIRS chairman Zach Adedeji said the tax compliance exercises by FIRS on the activities of foreign shipping companies lifting hydrocarbons from Nigeria was part of measures aimed at widening the tax net in order to grow revenue for the government. He assured the international companies that the agency was only interested in ensuring compliance with the extant tax laws and not out to disrupt their operations. So coming up after the break, we'll look at deepening Islamic finance in the Nigerian capital market and the economy. Join us again, everyone.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Connect with us now via our social media channels, facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Welcome back to Business Now. Nigeria holds the enviable record as one of the biggest market for Islamic finance in sub-Saharan Africa via non-interest banking, insurance, sukuk, and other debt capital market instruments. Looking to deepen that market in Nigeria, the Islamic Development Bank Institute and the Nigerian Exchange put together a training program to empower market institutions and issuers on the potential and global impact of Islamic finance in creating solution that drives economic growth. Here is Jude Chiemeka, the Executive Director of Capital Markets at the NGX, speaking at the event on Tuesday.
Today we are gathered here to explore the immense potential and global impact of Islamic finance in creating solutions that drive economic growth. We are indeed pleased to co-host this training in partnership with Islamic Development Bank Institute. In recent times, Islamic finance has emerged as a dynamic alternative source of financing development within the global financial landscape. With principles embedded in ethical and Sharia-compliant practices, it has gained recognition as an alternative financial system that promotes fairness, transparency, and shared prosperity. Islamic finance offers a diverse array of products such as Ijara, Sukuk, Murabaha, among others, thereby providing sovereign states, states and corporates with access to capital within the confines of Sharia principles. According to the banker database globally, total Sharia compliant assets, excluding Iran, grew by 13% to $1.6 trillion in 2022, with 57% held by standalone Islamic finance institutions. This data print further highlights the increasing acceptance of Islamic finance as a viable financial system. Nigeria's foray into Islamic finance began in December 2012 with the establishment of Nigeria's first Islamic bank that was closely followed by the milestone auctioning of 10 billion naira, which at the time was $61.87 million, Sukuk Ijara on October 10, 2023, issued by the Osun State government. Since then, there has been measured progress in using the capital markets to raise Sharia-compliant funds. The federal government, over the years, has issued different tranches of Sukuk bonds that have been used for infrastructural projects all over the country. Recently, corporates such as Taj Bank, 10 billion Sukuk issuance, states, Lagos State, 19.9 billion, have followed suit. Year to date, market capitalization of Sukuk bonds listed on the NGX sits in the region of 766 billion naira. 2.3% of the total debt capital market capitalization. Fitch Ratings recognizes the potential of Islamic finance in Nigeria and forecasts that Nigeria's Islamic finance industry will continue its growth trajectory in 2023 to 2024 on the back of government sukuk issuance and policy push. Currently, Nigeria houses one of the largest sukuk markets in Africa with an outstanding issuance of 766 billion, which is about 913 million US dollars. Albeit small by global comparison, with Nigeria having a significant Muslim population of about 50% of the country's over 200 million population, the long-term potential of Islamic finance in Nigeria is indeed very significant. The growth of the Islamic finance industry in Nigeria offers several potential benefits. These include access to banking services for underserved Muslim populations, access to finance for small and medium-sized enterprises through its risk-sharing characteristics, and financing options for infrastructure projects through sukuk. This, we believe, will help spur economic development and attract private sector investment. Therefore, in pursuance of Nigeria's mandate to deepen the existing suite of available investment, the Islamic finance event has been curated to provide an understanding of Islamic capital markets and how it is differentiated from the traditional finance. In the course of today's events, we will have the privilege of hearing from experts who will do a deep dive into the contemporary issues and practices of Islamic finance in different jurisdictions. We will also explore case studies and success stories from different regions, showcasing the transformative power of Islamic finance in driving inclusive growth and fostering sustainable business practices in Nigeria. The broad spectrum of participants present today buttresses the importance of today's workshop.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
That was Jude Chiemeka, the Executive Director of Capital Markets at the Nigerian Exchange, speaking on Islamic financial markets in Nigeria. Let's give you a snapshot of our Tuesday's trading day. The local stock market reversed Monday's loss as the NGX All-Share Index recorded a 0.08% increase. Tuesday's performance was supported by bargain hunting in Lafarge Africa, 1.4%. Zenith Bank saw a 0.15%, UBA 0.73%, JITCO 0.54%, Access Corp 0.29%, and Fidelity Bank 1.71%. Let's look across frontier African markets. The Egyptian index was 0.06% positive on Tuesday, and the Kenya market rebound with 0.08%. Here in West Africa, we've got the regional exchange in Abidjan recorded a positive performance of 0.37%, while the Ghana stock market remained flattish. In Southern Africa, the Zimbabwe stock market was slightly better by just 0.01%, while the JSE in South Africa reported a 0.07% decline. So we're back on Broad Street. Overnight lending rate narrowed by 4 basis points to 23.8%, and that's in the absence of any significant inflows from the system. The NTB secondary market traded with bullish sentiment as the average yield contracted by 6 basis points to 12.7% as the market prepares for today's central bank primary market auction rollover of 3 dated instruments that are worth a total of 211.7 billion naira. Now, the FGM bond secondary market traded quietly. The average yield was unchanged at 15.9%. Let's check on foreign exchange. The naira depreciated by 9.7% to 813 naira 97 kobo against the US dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, wiping off all the gains it recorded on Monday. So oil prices were largely unchanged in Asian trade on Wednesday as a potentially big build-up of U.S. crude cancelled out gains triggered by likely supply cuts from OPEC Plus producers group. Now we saw Brent crude futures rose 11 cents or 0.1% to $82.56 a barrel. The U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 14 cents or 0.2% to $77.91 a barrel. And both benchmarks have fallen for 4 straight weeks as investors remain cautious ahead of Sunday's scheduled OPEC Plus meeting, when the producer group may discuss deepening supply cuts due to slowing global economic growth. And even if the OPEC Plus nations extend their cuts into next year, the global oil market will see a slight supply surplus in 2024. The head of the International Energy Agency's Oil Market and Industry Division said that on Tuesday. And well, the U.S. government data on stockpiles is due out later today. Well, that's the package on Business Now this Wednesday, the 22nd of November. Thank you so much for listening. I am Aramide Folorunshaw. It's bye for now.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
The DPO, the Divisional Police Officer who is on ground there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live within localities, and the people are afraid to
We had so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
I'm Chris. I'm a trader operating a chain of supermarkets. I engage in monthly comfortable contributions with my insurance company. It gave me the opportunity to inject capital into my business during peak periods and reap handsome returns. I never knew that an insurance company can be that helpful. Kudos to Mutual Benefits Assurance for such innovative and business-sustaining insurance products.
Take advantage of the delightful offers and experience the peace that comes with knowing that you can count on Mutual Benefits Assurance to protect you and what you value the most. Call Mutual Benefits Assurance today on 0905 474 4444 to get started.